Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Thank everybody for tuning in. We love having you here at your daily dose of Donkey with Ginger, bringing you sports talk. Week 20, I believe, we're looking at talking about the championship rounds for the AFC and NFC, looking back at the divisional rounds. Ginger, what you see out there this week?
Divisional rounds looked good. It was a great weekend of football. 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. Kicked it off the week with Ravens, Bills, Donkey, and Buffalo. And another AFC North team goes down. Lamar Jackson looked particularly not impressive throwing the football.
Not going to judge on that game because even Josh Allen had trouble throwing the ball. And if you saw the wind there, man, the wind is bad. But Buffalo did it the way the Steelers have, the way any team who beats Baltimore beats them. Make them throw the football.
Yep, and it didn't work out so well. So that was there's something special going on in Buffalo, and sticking with the AFC side, the Kansas City and Cleveland game. Donkey, it was a game. I do believe though that I called that the Browns cover and the Chiefs win.
All right, let's be honest here. It's a 2-score game with Patrick Mahomes gets knocked out, right?
Yeah.
Right as I get to review, you follow around. That sucks. I mean, everything that needed to happen for the Browns to win happened for the Browns to win. They kept it close. They getting towards the end of the game. They managed to get Patrick Mahomes out of the game. No doubt, you're within 2 scores. You knock Mahomes out in the third quarter. If you're a football team that wants to take that next step and wants to prove that you're not just the Cleveland Browns still, that you are a team ready to go to the elite level and not just be a playoff team, that's a game you have to win. You can't let a backup quarterback on 3rd and 14 run for 13.9 yards and make it a 4th and an inch.
Put his life on the line there, Donkey. Did you see that scramble?
I did, and props to... but Cleveland, this is what you needed. If you wanted to prove it, this was the game. I mean, Baltimore lost because Buffalo's a really good team and absolutely said, hey, Baltimore, if you're going to beat us, your quarterback who has trouble throwing the ball is going to be the reason. In Cleveland, you got Mahomes out of the game. I'm sorry, but they had to win that game, and they just didn't because the thing you said last week came up to be the truest thing ever. There's just something clutch in that Chiefs team. They just make that play that has to be made.
Yep, and that was the one, that scramble that you identified for 13 yards, setting them up for the short, for the 4th and short.
So I hate to say it, but the possible future for the Pittsburgh Steelers was shown in New Orleans. What happens when you surround a good team around a quarterback who no longer has the ability to make the throws? I mean, Drew Brees made all the perfect reads, made all the right things, but he just can't make the throws anymore. And it showed. I mean, wasn't it like 14 of Tampa Bay's points were set up by Drew Brees making bad throws?
That'd be 21.
Oh, 21, even worse.
By my count. Three picks, 3 touchies. Tampa Bay capitalized, but it wasn't really that impressive. They're going to have their hands full with Aaron Rodgers. Are you kidding me?
What a great career for Drew Brees. I hope he calls it a quits. I think he said he was. I'm pretty sure that was already announced. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe I think I am losing my mind. But, I mean... He just clearly doesn't have the arm. He never had a big arm, but dude, he doesn't even have the arm to make NFL throws anymore. And I'm so afraid that's what's going to happen to the Steelers, and we're going to extend Ben for more years. And then we get to the last game, right? The Rams with a pretty good defense, but unfortunately no healthy quarterbacks because Jared Goff was playing as a broken man.
Looking hurt.
Kudos to him for going out there and giving all he's got, but Aaron Rodgers had that look. Like, he looks like he's in it to win it.
Hey.
And that's a scary thing for any team in the NFL.
Aaron Rodgers, I'm pretty sure, took that Packers draft pick this year personally. Says you're gonna bring in Love.
My replacement.
I'm gonna show you some love. Okay, here we go.
That dude's a straight up. He was having it. I mean, I don't know what you say against that Aaron Rodgers, but I hate to say
Okay.
this, but I'm not sure he gets his second Super Bowl this year because
It's not even just about the arm talent, Donkey. It's about the football IQ. Being able to make those the right throws in the right spots. And how about that?
good pre-snap reads, good calls, switch to runs. You're
How
right. He
about that
does
little?
everything.
How about that little
absolutely
footwork
right.
against Malcolm Floyd, where he scampered in for the touchdown from like 5, 7 yards out? He threw the old okey
Aaron's
doke
a
right on him.
Aaron's a sneaky boy. I tell you what, if this and this is nothing against Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not saying he wasn't devoted to football because clearly to get that good you have to be somewhat devoted. But there's a difference between like being devoted to something and being Tom Brady devoted to something, right?
That's called obsessed.
Exactly. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers ever hit that obsessed level because if he did, I feel his career would be a different point right now, to be quite honest with you, because I watched that guy on the field and I've watched that guy this year, right? That dude is unstoppable. That Aaron Rodgers is unstoppable. But here's the question. And let's look into this game as our first preview. What happens when the unstoppable meets the GOAT?
The goat did not impress me in the game versus New Orleans.
He's the only quarterback who's like over 36 right now that I still has the arm talent to play at that level.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be probably a true statement for some time to come, too, Donkey. That's not the norm. I understand that. But I think that Packers team is firing on all cylinders. And the road to the Super Bowl goes through Lambeau. Tommy already said when he left New England that he didn't really truly care for the cold. You know where he's going?
That's true, but I mean, say what you want, and I said this before. Little Scotty boy down there in Tampa always seems to make a big play when he gets to play. Well, Antonio Brown's hurt. Guess who gets all the new snaps now? Little Scotty boy. I feel he makes a couple big catches. I feel there's a turnover by Green Bay that's huge, and I don't think it's Aaron Rodgers. I think it's those receivers fumbling the ball, which they've been known to do. And I feel Tampa ekes out a 4-point win because say what you want, until someone does it, I don't bet against Tom Brady. Like, for my whole life, I'm like, someone's going to beat him. Someone's going to beat him. Someone's going to beat him. And all I do is I look like an idiot. I look like an idiot. And I look like an idiot. So this time, either way I win. Either Tom doesn't win and or I'm right and Tom does win. So this time, I'm going to be out on the winning end of this bet because either way, I'm not upset at the result. Right?
Pretty fair way to look at it, Donkey. You're not wrong. I acknowledge everything that you say. Like I said, I'm traditionally known as not a huge Tom Brady fan. I think he dashed a lot of my hopes throughout the years, obviously, but
yeah, that dude's mean.
Not out of the question. Not out of the question at all. But I still feel Packers by at least 6. In my opinion.
Honestly, how'd you bet against either of those quarterbacks? I mean, Tom Brady's Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers looks possessed.
Yeah, true.
How'd you bet against that? The old guard in the NFC, dude, is taking it. The old guard is showing they're not done. But
true
hey,
story.
Look at the AFC. We got the new guard ready to show that they're ready to own. Look at those two pretty quarterbacks over there. Look at the arm talent on those two guys. I mean, what at this point, I don't know if even taking Josh Allen is really a loser. Like when you compare him to Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he's quite at Mahomes' level yet, but watching him this year, bro, is there two franchises that are set up any better than Buffalo and Kansas City right now?
I don't think there is. They both look really great. It's going to be a hell of a game.
It is.
I'm excited.
I mean, those new guard quarterbacks are great. I guess the way you can look at this for Kansas City, though, is they're not quite set up as good as Buffalo because Josh Allen's still on that rookie contract. And this is the last year that Patty Mahomes isn't going to make like $40 million because next year is when that huge contract comes into play that he signed. Because I think he only accounts for like $2 million against the cap this year, and it's something like $30 or $40 million next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oof. That means a lot of people are going to be gone or that support him.
Hill.
But honestly, I just what you said. I know that Kansas City team hasn't been pretty, but they just make those plays, and I just see them making the plays this week. If Patrick Mahomes comes out, and I haven't got to see him practice, if Patrick Mahomes comes out and looks like Patrick Mahomes and not like a dazed Patrick Mahomes, not like, you remember that RG3 playoff game where he played and you could tell RG3 wasn't RG3?
Mm-hmm.
The one that essentially ruined his career, right?
Right. Yeah, you can't let that happen here. There's got to be some
Patrick
sort of
Mahomes comes out and
management of that.
isn't that, I really feel like this is Kansas City's game to win. I love Buffalo. I love what that team's set up to do. I loved the addition of Stephon Diggs. But I just feel like right now that Kansas City roster, because they're not paying Mahomes yet, is still just a little too talented for them. I think next year and the year after is the year you look at Buffalo to be the team to beat for at least a couple years until Josh Allen gets paid. But this year, I don't know, dude. I'm feeling Kansas City. I know you feel different, so make me believe.
I'll tell you what, again, these are both teams where I can say that about. Josh Allen comes up with some plays and some clutch moments, and so does that Buffalo defense. I know they're not the defense that you saw last year, but we see some key stops in some very tight situations where they really kept Lamar Jackson in the pocket and did not allow him to scamper up the middle, scamper up the hashes like he did to ruin Tennessee's day. Credit to a good three-phase football team. You know, good special teams.
It is.
Good defense. Good offense.
The bigger problem I see for Buffalo is the way that teams have beat Buffalo is if you're able to throw the ball consistently and beat them deep, right? That is exactly what Kansas City can do. And I'm going to come try to rev you, but I don't know. That team is, I'm not going to say either. I'm not for sure either team. Like, I feel this is, like I said, I feel this is KC. But it doesn't mean I don't think Buffalo has a good chance. It's just, I think KC's built to beat Buffalo, whereas Buffalo was smart and just essentially said, no, Patrick, or not to Patrick, but no, Lamar, you're not going to run the ball on us. And it worked. And he couldn't really throw the ball over the top. I mean, the weather conditions were terrible. And if this was in Buffalo, you're going to have maybe a different opinion from me, because if the weather is bad in Buffalo, that changes everything. But we're playing in Kansas City, and I know the weather can get bad, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a bad day. It sounds like it's going to be nice weather. Nice weather tends to play really well for those teams that can be a little fancy. And I think this is the first time Josh Allen's been this big of a moment, and he's doing it on the road without his fans behind him. I think it's going to be a little different, and I think KC, isn't there going to be a few faithful there for KC?
I think there
It'll
is.
make a little bit of a difference. I feel it, and I don't know why, but I feel this is Tampa, KC. Though I would really love to see the arm talent of Aaron Rodgers versus the arm talent of Mahomes, but I really feel this is Tampa, KC.
I'm so excited for football. Championship weekend, Donkey. I wish I saw some black and gold out there, but I think there's going to be some entertaining football regardless.
There is, but hey, there was some news on the black and gold front if we'd like to get into that.
Ooh, a couple big notable stories this week, I believe, Donkey.
The one I love is a low risk, high reward situation of signing someone who maybe if we decide to make the smart move and move on could take the reins potentially.
That was a name that I had mentioned in a previous podcast. I think everybody kind of thought it was a joke, but I think the talent is there. It's really just an attitude problem, and we know that Tomlin has some significant experience dealing with attitude problems.
Top 20 draft pick 2 years ago. Clearly the arm talent's there. Clearly that hasn't gone away. He was starting and was a captain for this team at the beginning of the year. That is Dwayne Haskins, since we haven't named a name yet, and anyone who's maybe confused, which you shouldn't be. But, I mean, there's a reason the dude got removed from being the starter for a no-name, right? There's a reason the dude lost his captainship. There's a reason no other team, including teams that need a quarterback desperately, didn't take a chance on him when they could have claimed him off waivers for very little.
Yeah, he cleared waivers.
There's a reason there's only 2 teams that were even in talks with him at this point. Okay? So the problems are there. I'm not going to say this as an answer. Supposedly the Carolina Panthers were the other team that was willing to sign him.
Okay.
which
Go
would make
ahead.
sense.
Go
I
ahead,
mean,
yeah.
Rule likes him, but the arm talent's there. I like it I said we need to bring in a guy, and I feel it's to compete with Mason Rudolph, and I still think we need to bring in a guy. I would still love to see Mac Jones in the draft. I mean, a lot of people are saying Trask from Florida is a name they're hearing linked to Pittsburgh, and I'm like, oh, please not Kyle Trask. Like, that's one I'm nervous about. But you know what? If it is Kyle Trask, I'm going to root for him. I'm going to do everything, but I don't know. I think we still need to bring in another name. I don't think Dwayne Haskins was the legit answer. I hope he is, because if it works out, that's going to be awesome.
That would be really fortunate.
What you looking
yeah.
at?
Kyle Trask. Yeah, I've heard that name before. You happen to see that bowl game with him? Not
No,
not
I did
pleasant.
not.
Not pleasant.
No.
Okay.
Hey,
But
the
good
only
body of work
quarterback I
before
was
that.
impressed of in bowl games was Mac Jones, and that's the guy I want. I love Mac Jones.
Yeah, I don't think that I'm not certain that Dwayne Haskins is or isn't the future, but like you said, I don't even know. We only have 2 quarterbacks technically on the roster right now. Is Dobbs a free agent? I think he is.
He is. He is.
And we've already released Devlin Duck Hodges this week, or didn't renew the contract, and we definitely needed a third quarterback on the roster.
Truth.
Um,
Yeah, definitely.
we'll have to wait and see how that progresses. But I'll be really looking forward to camp.
All right, Gingy, you want to get in my talking points for this week, or you got any other Steelers stories you'd like to hit up first?
Steelers stories hitting up this week. Like to say a big thank you to Vance McDonald for his time and his 9 years in the NFL, I believe. Was it, Donkey? 9 years?
I think it was 8 or 9. Yeah, it was somewhere around there. And he's going to have one of my all-time favorite Steeler moments, dude.
Stiff arming
Chris Conti to the IR. Bro, I will never forget Vanimal for that. And I will always love Vanimal because that moment was
Beautiful.
just...
I yelled. I screamed.
That moment was awesome. I don't even know what you say about that. That Vanimal, kudos. I actually have that in my talking points. Thank you for bringing it up. Like, thank you, Vanimal, for everything you did here. And, by the way, Pittsburgh Steelers Walter Payton Man of the Year Award nominee because of all the great shit he's doing out there in community. It sucks to lose a guy like that because by all accounts, that dude, whether or not his play on the field met his contract, that dude was beyond a good person, right?
Hell yeah. Go Vanimal.
And it's important to have guys like that in the locker room. I think the Steelers could use a few more veterans like that who do things the right way to teach these young kids how to do it. Yeah, thank you, Vance. That's just great. And, well, Ginger, if you're ready.
That was about
point one.
That was my take from the week. So yeah, let's hear these points here.
Point one. Let's look at. I did a little dive into Steeler quarterback records over the past 5 years based on 3 criteria. I wanted to see their records against teams below 500, their record versus teams against 500, but more specifically to me because about 40% of the teams finish above 500 every year. Slightly over 40%, I think, is what the number is. So why don't we narrow that down to a group that's only 25% of the teams at most? I want to see how the Steelers and their quarterbacks each have performed against division winners. Because to me, if you want to be a championship team and not just a team that makes the playoffs, you need to be able to beat that top 25 percenters, right? And beat them more often than you lose to them. Is that a fair way to look at things?
Yes.
All right. So we'll look at it this year, and we'll look at it last year first in those 2 years to compare because that's a year with Ben and a year without Ben. All right, this year, our record against teams with a winning record was really good at 5-1 because we dominated our division, right? And okay, that was Ben's record. And then he's 0-1 in the playoffs against a team with a winning record. Mason Rudolph, the only other quarterback to start this year, 0-1 against teams with winning record. But let's break down that 5-1 Ben had. Let's look at how did he do against teams that won their division. Which, by the way, we have a weird nuance here. We played a division winner with a losing record.
True.
Also, we lost to them. We were 0-2 this year against teams that won their division, being Buffalo and Washington, and we did not play another division winner. Which, by the way, my dive into this, bro, the Steelers have had an easy schedule over the last 5 years. We have played every year a majority of our games against teams with losing records.
We didn't play a division winner, right? Tennessee?
We did not. Well, wait, we did play Tennessee. You're right. 1-2.
1-2.
I have that on there. Why did I say 0-2? Oh, I was looking at a wrong year. I was looking at Mason from next year.
Tennessee.
You're right.
Tennessee.
We beat the Titans. 1-2. I do have that on there. That was a bad mistake. But
okay.
anyway, so 1-2, 33%. I have it right here too. 33% winning against division winners.
Yes.
Is that gonna cut it?
No, it's still not, because when you lose to the Washington nameless football team, it's still bad. There's no excuse, but I did want to give us credit for what the only reason I remember that one is because I 100% consider that our best win of the season for the Steelers. That was pretty much our Super Bowl.
I think the Cleveland Brown whopping was our best game.
Okay, that's fair, but go on. No, that's the only reason why I remember that, because it stuck out to me as our
No, you're right.
biggest power
and
win.
then there's always this weird thing that people say we're bad against teams with losing records. By the way, I would just like to I want to point this one out first. So our record against teams with losing records the last 5 years with Ben is 26-4. So it's a little overstated. I mean, yeah, we don't blow them out, but to be fair, that's probably because we're closer to being a bad team than a good team over all these years. But we beat those bad teams. Let's be honest here. When you look at that,
to put it, closer to a bad team than a good team.
I'm sorry. Would you? I will let you go right now to disagree with me. Go ahead. I'm all yours.
I still think that even if you're a regular season warrior, you're in the top 75 percentile of the NFL if you're a perennial playoff team. But like I said, if you're looking at it
that'd be
in
a
terms
constant division winner, Gingy.
which
75 percentile would be a constant division winner every year.
It's not constant, but how many AFC North titles in the last 5 years? 2? 3?
2, I believe. I believe you're right at 2.
Okay.
So that puts you at like top 65 percentile.
Right. Go on. We'll hear the rest of this point.
All right. So this year, Ben was 7-2 against teams with losing records. Okay. So we're not really performing against division winners. Let's look at 2019 specifically for quarterbacks. Ben went 0-2 against teams that had a winning record in games he started, because he did start the first 2 years. And he went 0-1 against division winners. Mason Rudolph went 1-2 against teams with winning record, 0-2 against division record, and 4-1 against losing records. Duck Hodges 0-2 against winning teams, 0-1 against division records, 3-1 against teams with losing records. What I'm trying to say here is, everyone who makes a case for we need to keep Ben because it'd be terrible without him, my case is we win about the same percent against bad teams with or without Ben. And to be honest, if we're going to make the next step forward, we have to use that cap space elsewhere. So is it really that big of a drop-off if we go from Ben to, say, a Mason Rudolph who wins about 33% of his team's games against winning teams and wins the same amount against losing teams? I mean, you're still talking we're going to be in the 9-10 win category. And we seem to always get historically weak schedules for some reason. And here's Ben's record the last 5 years against winning teams, which is really boosted by this year and 2017. He had a really good year against winning teams. He is, over the last 5 years, only 16-11 against winning football teams. But more importantly, he's 5-9 against division winners. We don't even win half the time we play a division winner. To me, the stat that shows where the Steelers are is we have played 3 8-8 football teams over the last 5 years, and we're 2-1 against them. And what I'm going to say here is we're just slightly better than that 500 mark. Like, we'll have a better year, we'll have a good year, but never have the Steelers really been, I guess you could say 2017 we were really a contender, but we got walloped in our first playoff game. Like, I don't think, and this will bring me to my second point, by the way, and I'll let you talk about this point I made first. But my second point is you can't win paying a quarterback that is not an MVP level quarterback. And Ben has been a huge paid quarterback. And let's compare him to the other people who are constantly on that list. Matt Ryan and, oh my gosh, the dude who, why am I skipping names here? Detroit.
Stafford.
Matthew Stafford. Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford. What do those two guys have in common? They don't win very often. Or it's what Matt Stafford and Matt Ryan have. So I think Ben's a step above them. But Matt Ryan has something Ben doesn't. And this is not a knock against Ben. This is a compliment to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan has MVP potential.
Did.
He did. I'm not saying he does now, but he made a Super Bowl run because he carried a team that had a pretty good defense, but he was playing out of his mind. I don't know if you can do that with Ben. And my case here is I don't think the fall down's going to be as painful as people think. I hope it's not. And I hope we do it now because the worst thing we can do, and I'll show this on my next point, is delay this. That is the worst thing we can do is make this cap hit fall later and later. But I want you to take a minute and just tell me what you think about that first point. Because I'm only pointing out stats. I'm not trying to make them say anything other than they do. Ben is our best quarterback against winning football teams, but the job's not getting done against that next level up, that division winner title. And I don't think as Steeler fans, we're here to just make the playoffs and maybe win a game. I don't think that's what we want.
Well, and I think with that transition phase that you're talking about, it has a lot more to do with the entirety of the team rather than just Ben Roethlisberger and his individual skill set. I mean, the whole offensive unit was built around Ben, so there's a certain level of obligation that you have to him there, regardless of his deteriorating arm talent as Father Time starts to catch up here. So, understandably so, there's a lot of other decisions to be factored in before you consider keeping or dropping Ben Roethlisberger. I think I saw something on the internet about some leaked data that the Steelers possibly, not surprisingly, hiring OC within. It's starting to lean towards Matt Canada.
Okay, like I said, if we're going internal, that's the one I like.
Read that this week, and so let's say that is the premise that does play out. Matt Canada is your new offensive coordinator. I think that would lend itself to a removal from the Ben Roethlisberger era.
You would have to, or one of them would have to dramatically shift their philosophy. Because
Right.
Ben would either have to become athletic in the next 6 months, or Matt Canada would have to build an offense that he has never run.
Right, exactly. So,
And if you're asking Matt Canada to do that right after you hired him, you're just putting him in his position to be a failure.
we're also going to have to make some really tough decisions with not only Ben Roethlisberger, but a lot of lovable veteran players that are, starting to move past their prime. If we're looking at this transition phase, we're looking at guys who are, who can still play ball, who are 31, 32, 33 years old, but who aren't next in line for a 3 or a 4 year role here. And some of the names that pop up to me are unfortunately David DeCastro might be a movable piece, as would be Vince Williams.
Vince Williams has to be gone. Too much of a cap hit for too little play time. The other players I'm looking at are ones you can save a lot of money on. And unfortunately, I think you might have to look at both Steven Nelson and Joe Hayden because they're both making huge money. And let's be honest, the Steelers are going to roll over $5 million in cap, but the cap's going to drop next year. And if the cap drops to $175, you're looking at $180 million is what the Steelers can spend. We're already sitting, even after losing Vance McDonald, at $200 million associated to only 35 players. You average $1 million for the other 20 players, we're sitting at $220 million. You're talking we have to move $44 million off the books. And I hate to say it, we need to just rip the Band-Aid off because just kicking this down the road is just going to kick mediocrity a little farther until you start the rebuild.
And I don't think it needs to be a full rehaul. There are some young pieces on that defense. TJ, Devin Bush. If you're somehow able to keep Bud Dupree through all this, there's a core there that can allow us to continue to contend moving forward in the next years to come.
You ready for point number 2 about how why I think you got to move on from Ben?
Let's hear it.
Point number 2 is you don't pay a quarterback over 10% of your salary cap and make the Super Bowl unless your quarterback has MVP potential. And why I say that is I will read you the numbers and the average salary of the quarterbacks who made the Super Bowl the last 10 years. And now you might think this is a little strange because there's years where a quarterback will make $20 million and it's not 10% of the cap. That's because with the NFL rollover, certain teams can have like $260 million salary cap one year, like San Francisco did last year when Garoppolo led them to the Super Bowl. Their salary cap was actually like $264 million. But last year, we'll look at Mahomes, 2% of the team salary cap, Garoppolo, 8%. The year before, Brady at 12%, Goff at 4%. By the way, Brady MVP caliber. The year before that, Foles and Wentz combined for 4% of the cap, with Brady at only 8% of the cap. 2017, Brady, 8% of the cap, Matt Ryan, 15% of the cap, but Matt Ryan was an MVP. The year before that, Peyton Manning at 11%, a former MVP dude, and kind of the rule breaker here because Peyton Manning was not MVP caliber during those years in Denver. And Cam Newton at 8% on Cam Newton's MVP year. The year before that was Brady at 10%, Russell Wilson at, 0.6% of his team's cap was Russell Wilson. Get the hell out of here. The year before, Russell Wilson at 0.5% of his team's cap, and Peyton Manning at 12% of his team's cap. The year before that was Joe Flacco, 6% of his team's cap, and Colin Kaepernick at 1.1% of his team's cap. The year before that, Eli Manning, at 13.3% of his team's cap, which is kind of another, the Mannings are just oddities apparently, and Brady at 11%. And then you have the Rodgers-Ben Super Bowl, where Rodgers only accounted for 6% of his team's cap, and Ben accounted for 9% of his team's cap. And ironically, both of them got big contracts soon after, and their teams never really seemed to get back to that level, although Rodgers might prove me wrong this year. But,
see.
I'm looking at those numbers, and would you like me to read you Ben's cap hit over those years?
Let's hear it.
All right, so Ben, and we'll start from 2020 and work backwards. Ben's percent of cap hit, 12.7%. Ben, the year before, 12.8%. Year before, 10.8%. Year before, 15.3%. Year before, 12%. Year before that, 14.2%. Year before that, 10.9%. And then you get his couple down years where he only took 7.4% and 9.4% in 13 and 12 Super Bowl years. So it'd be, 12 and 11 season? And then the year we made it with him at 9%. But the fact of the matter is, you pay these quarterbacks, and if they're not an MVP caliber guy, they're a complimentary type of guy, you just don't seem to make the Super Bowl. I mean, Russell Wilson hasn't really sniffed a Super Bowl since he got paid. Ben Roethlisberger hasn't sniffed a Super Bowl since he got paid. Hell, even Aaron Rodgers really didn't sniff a Super Bowl since he got paid. I mean, I just don't, and this isn't meant to be mean to Ben, because I think you can still be a winning team, you can be a mediocre team, and you can sit there in mediocrity if you want, but it just seems like paying the quarterback's a bad idea if you want to win a Super Bowl. Like, paying a non-MVP caliber quarterback doesn't seem to work. And I hate to say this, but Ben's 38, 39? Is he going to magically become a MVP caliber quarterback next year?
I don't think so.
So then if our goal is to get to Super Bowls, I feel like we need to cut the Band-Aid off now and take that $20 million cap hit and do not delay the rebuild. Because if we delay the rebuild, he's still going to be a 10% cap quarterback for 2-3 more years. And instead of pulling the Band-Aid off now, we're going to be stuck with that for 2-3 more years. Like, hell, this year Ben accounted for 11% of our cap? And he'll count for 11% of our cap next year, even if he doesn't play on the team. That's unfortunate. But I don't see a path forward where we can pay Ben Roethlisberger and be competitive. Because if we keep Ben, it's guaranteed we're going to lose guys like Juju Smith-Schuster. We're going to lose guys like, who's the slot corner I'm thinking of? Cam Sutton, Mike Hilton, Bud Dupree. These guys we aren't going to be able to re-sign because we're going to have no money because it's all on our quarterback. And I mean, we're probably not going to be able to re-sign him anyway because of how much we're going to have to pay our quarterback even if he doesn't play. So maybe if you feel you want to run it back one more time with Ben next year, I'm fine with that if it's on a one-year deal. If we don't extend him, we just let him play out for $41 million next year because we say, well, we want Ben in here to, teach Mac Jones, to teach Dwayne Haskins. Steelers fans, we want you to understand we know this year we're probably not going to be a championship contender. I'm cool with that if they're willing to bench Ben at the second half of the year. If this doesn't become an Eli Manning debacle that the Giants had. But I mean,
no promises there.
This is just, it's hard to see because I look at the stats and it just doesn't seem like, unless the quarterback has the MVP thing in him, which Ben's never got an MVP vote, it just doesn't seem like you make a Super Bowl with a paid quarterback. I mean, the AFC quarterbacks this year are getting 2%, a little over 2% of their team's caps each, because Mahomes hasn't hit his big deal yet and Josh Allen's still on a rookie contract. And then in the NFC, you have two MVPs who are making 10 and 12% of their team's cap respectively. One of them's going to make it, so there's going to be a 10%er, but he's an MVP guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you need. If you're going to pay 10%, I think it has to be an MVP. And I know it's hard to say that because how many MVP quarterbacks are there, Gingy? Legit. Like maybe 3 in a season?
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. But should you then go the way that seems to be more apparent, which is get a first-round quarterback and win while he's on his rookie contract?
That's the ideal version. You can even do that with a mediocre rookie deal contract, a.k.a. LA Rams Jared Goff. Yes.
Or the Philadelphia Eagles and Carson Wentz.
Yes. Yes, agreed.
Or the San Francisco 49ers with Colin Kaepernick.
Yep.
I mean, yes, that seems to be the way to do it. And I understand it's really hard. And I feel bad because there's a lot of teams that are getting to that point where do we pay this quarterback who hasn't made it yet? Or do we move on? I mean, it's hard. Like, I hate to say it, but Cleveland, you're the team I'm looking at because, let's be honest here, who's about to run out of his rookie deal?
Uh-oh. You're not talking about...
Baker.
You're not talking about commercial making Baker, are you?
I am. And what happens when you tend to pay those quarterbacks after rookie deals? Like, I hate to say that, but look at these teams that were one-time perennial powerhouses. That San Francisco team was a team that was supposed to be the team that could compete with the New England Patriots. What happens once they had to pay a quarterback? Well, and then their quarterback kind of went and got himself all sorts of knocked out of the league. It stopped happening. What happened to Seattle when they went from not paying Russell Wilson to having to pay Russell Wilson? You went from the Legion of Boom to the Rush Show, and then the Rush Show just hasn't got there.
Yep.
What happened with the Rams when they started paying Jared Goff? Like, they're still a good team, but are they even an NFC Championship caliber team anymore? And here's the biggest one for me. There's one quarterback people love to talk about how great he is and how people like to pretend he's one of the greatest of our generation, which he's a great one, but I don't think you put him up there with the 3 greatest of our generation. And that's Drew Brees.
Yeah, that's all true, Donkey.
Dude got paid big money?
I 100% agree with you. You got to build that team around youth. A youthful offense and a veteran defense seems to be the way that you can maximize your efficiency.
Hell, find yourself an MVP quarterback. That seems to work too. But
that's
I mean, you can look at other teams. Like, I believe Cam Newton was on the last year of his rookie deal when he made the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the luck of that's the draft process there, which would make it interesting. You know, Steelers moved up in the draft last year to get Devin Bush. Do you think they'll try to do that again to find an offense?
2 years ago. 2 years ago. Last year we traded for Minka.
Yes, 2 years ago. That first round pick last year went to Minka. So essentially 2 first-round picks in a row used on the defensive side of the ball, and clearly that's helped. 3 in a row.
No doubt.
So
no doubt that has.
I don't know if you...
where the heck did Earl just go? Oh, I think I desynced. Oh, that's cool. Where's the Earl's corpse at, bro? I can't see it.
I don't know. It like dissipated into nothing. That's crazy.
He's right here. He's on me. Gingy on me. Gingy on me.
All right. I got it.
Yeah, I don't... I'm not trying to be mean here, but if you want to just be mediocre, if you just want to make the playoffs, if you want to have a chance to win a playoff game, I think we can keep Ben. I don't mean this to be mean, but I just don't see a path forward where we're a Super Bowl contender with Ben. Because historically, you can't pay a quarterback and win unless that quarterback is beyond great in arm talent. And that's not Ben Roethlisberger, right?
I agree, Donkey.
You've almost got me arm talent, but great at MVP. And Like I said, I'm actually fine with the Steelers want to admit, hey, next year we're going to use Ben to get a future guy. Cool. But then we have to pull off the Band-Aid so much harder because we're going to have to pay Ben an extra $20 million to mold a quarterback. And a lot of accounts are Ben's not great with guys he knows there to take his job. Is he the... I don't know. It's hard to say because I love what Ben has brought to Pittsburgh. I love what Ben has done for Pittsburgh. Hell, the only reason I know Super Bowls is because of Ben Roethlisberger, right? So I'm not here trying to make it sound like I hate the dude. I love the dude. I think the Steelers handled his contract situation poorly because
It could have went
I understand
better.
we did the extension in 2015, but why'd we re-extend him? Why, when we knew that he was showing signs of the aging process going bad, why didn't we just try to move on? And you say what you want, the Steelers didn't try to move on, but we wasted third and fourth round draft capital on a quarterback. Yeah, but I got a question for you. What percentage of NFL quarterbacks that start are either first or second round picks minimum?
A vast majority, I would say.
It's like 80-85%.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not wasting a first or second round pick on a quarterback, are you actually trying to replace your quarterback?
Well, you never know, Donkey. I'm no NFL scout. You might see something there.
I don't think you are, because that's not historically the way it works at all. You have to use a first or second round draft capital. Hell, I got a fun one for you. There was a team in New England who had Tom Brady and knew he might be getting towards the end of his career. By the way, he played like 4 more years after they did this. They spent a second round draft pick on a quarterback. There's a team, we'll call them the Green Bay Packers, who have Aaron Rodgers, MVP guy, right? They know they need weapons around Aaron Rodgers, but they're like, he's getting old. What do? They spend a first round draft pick on a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying here? Is
Mm-hmm.
the Steelers never prepared for a 35-plus-year-old quarterback to age. We were expecting Ben Roethlisberger, who hadn't had really playoff success in the past 2 years prior to that extension, I believe. At least 2 to 3 years, hadn't had big playoff things, had taken hits unlike any other quarterback. And we didn't think we needed to even consider replacing him. See, I'm not mad at Ben here, and a lot of people think I'm knocking on Ben. I'm not. I'm knocking on the way the Steelers handled this. And I said it before, how'd you say goodbye to a legend?
Okay, so hindsight is 2020, Donkey, and I don't think that you needed to replace him until you figured out that he had career-changing elbow surgery scheduled, which was only at the beginning of last year. If that didn't happen,
that's fair.
we're talking about not needing to replace him at this point. So that's a little bit of a hitch in the get along there.
All right, we're going to disagree on that because, we have disagreed on this. I felt 2016 playoffs, I believe it was the 2016 playoffs. That loss to Tom Brady in New England was embarrassing, and to me showed that Ben just can't get it done anymore. And I don't mean that to be mean. I mean, he clearly could still throw the ball a little bit, but he just showed the inability to lead a team that needed him to lead it to the promised land. I mean, we barely squeaked by a bad Miami team. We beat a Kansas City team by kicking field goals, I believe. And then we just got stomped by New England. Which to me showcases what the Steelers have been the last 5 years. A good team. But good doesn't make the Super Bowl. If the goal is the Super Bowl, that 2016 season to me was the marquee moment to move on from Ben. Maybe not move on, but the marquee movement to look to replace Ben, right?
Yeah, I hear you, but again, it's that alternative. It's moving from that good to a great team. Yeah, you talked earlier about the Steelers not taking a big of a hit, as some people might think, moving from Ben to Mason. And I agree with you. It still might not be the biggest hit as we think. It's not like I don't think it's going to be 5-11 football. You know what I mean? But it ain't great. Where's great at? That's the problem. We knew Ben Roethlisberger was
2010.
great, and I don't.
2010's where great is.
And there needs to be some evaluation on whether Ben Roethlisberger can be great. I'm not an NFL scout. I don't get to watch pro tape every week, but looking at highlight reels and seeing things, I don't know. There's moments of greatness for Ben. Second half of the Colts game, Donkey, can't deny it. It was there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to
sure.
be. It's got to be there. 13 out of 16 games in a year, and it's got to be there every playoff game you play. So
The bigger
I don't
problem
know.
is he's
I don't know if
getting
that's
older.
there.
He's counting for more hit cap, and the bigger part is I don't know if we're going to be a great defense next year because of the fact that we unfortunately, no matter what we do, have a huge hit from Ben Roethlisberger on the next contract, which isn't his fault. We backloaded. We've been paying Peter to Peter to pay Paul.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing that for far too long, and now it's going to bite us in the butt because elite and good pass rushers are hard to find, and we're about to lose one. Good slot corners aren't that easy to find either. We're about to lose 2 of them. Good slot receivers, they're a little easier to find out of all the things I've named. I think that's why I named them in this order. We're about to lose one. And I mean, I'm not a huge Juju fan, but I would rather have him than not have him. But, well, to be fair, I would not want him at $11 million, which it sounds like he's going to get more than. I would not want that contract. But look at all the players we're going to lose because we wanted to try and let Ben, and you can say what you want. We have been building the team for 4 years to try and send Ben out on a high note rather than just admitting it might be time to move on. And that's hard for me to admit. I said it, and people can say whatever they want because I don't have a podcast from 4 years ago. But since the 2016 playoffs, Gingy, you know this, I've been saying we need to replace Ben. I said Ben, and back then, the statement I always made was Ben can never beat Brady. And I said that. I've been saying that for a long time. It's just unfortunate that turned out to be so true and that we're looking at next year. And God, man, I don't even know how I feel because I want Ben to go out on a good note for the Steelers. That note he had in Cleveland would be terrible. But if he comes back next year and we have a losing season with Ben, it's even worse. Like, I just want to say goodbye to Ben now because at least we can end on a playoff note. Because I am just nervous of how, and you know how nasty Pittsburgh can get to someone. We were nasty to Bradshaw for a long time. Could you imagine how Pittsburgh's going to turn on Ben if he just tanks a season?
They can't.
I'm nervous about it.
They can't. They will.
They turned on Bradshaw, who won 4 Super Bowls. And Ben's not the most likable personality. Say what you want. For some reason, we've all got dolled up with him. But do you remember how many people wanted to get rid of Ben when he was allegedly touching girls and wrecking motorcycles?
He wasn't doing a good job off the field there. For a hot
Do you
second.
remember those times? Do you remember how many people were just fed up with Ben? Like,
Yeah,
I
remember.
Think the Steeler fans will do that again.
Oh,
I
guarantee
really
they
want this
will.
to end to Ben because, bro, I just don't want to see what happens if the greatest Steeler player I've personally seen offensively, I don't want to see it happen to him.
No.
I don't want to see this city turn on him. And the numbers say that things don't look good for us if we keep him.
We will have to see. Like I said, this all started with a discussion around coordinators and, what direction the Steelers are going to be taking moving forward.
That's fair. That's all I got for this one. Next week, by the way, as a little preview, I'm going to look at the top 10 paid quarterbacks every season and how they fared. Because that's what I was diving into today. I didn't quite get the numbers done. Sorry about that. But it gives us some content and a preview for everybody for next week. I'd like to thank anyone who tuned in for tuning in. Thank Gingy for being here once again. It's always a pleasure to talk Steelers with you. And Gingy, any shout-outs? Or any last... Hold on. Let's not get there. Any last talking points?
Just always good talking football with you too, Donkey. We're looking at Getting really diving into Steelers offseason. I know that there's been a lot of number crunching this week, different cap and personnel and different things like that. And, I think there's some opportunity for the Steelers to grow here. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the young guys can bring to the table in those leadership roles. And we're pretty much going to be talking about whether Ben's coming back or not next year until, he says whether or not he's coming back.
Made.
Yeah. So I'll be looking forward to dicing that out some more. And, just as I sort of brought up earlier, just shout out to Vanimal and the years that he spent with the 49ers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Seems to be a good guy. Walter Payton Man of the Award, finalist, as you stated, Donkey. And shout out to the Vanimal. Shout out to Steelers Nation.
You've stolen my shout out, so now I'm on the spot. Like, do I have another one? And I really don't. My shout out is purely to the Vanimal because, bro, you've been a good one, and you still have one of my favorite highlights I've ever seen. That was so awesome, and I would never ever forget it. Because yes, that's what I loved.
You can have
shout out to anyone who's still listeing.
Yeah, you can have the Vanimal shout out. I'll throw another shout out there to thank Devlin Duck Hodges for his service to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was at a game, Donkey, where there was literally hundreds, possibly thousands of people who pulled out their duck calls when this man came onto the field. And I heard Heinz Field ring with quacks. And that was a beautiful moment to be a part of, And shout out to Devlin Duck Hodges. Best of luck to him in the future.
That dude will forever be a folk hero in Pittsburgh.
Without question. I've never seen anything like it in my whole life. It was the most absurd thing I'd ever seen, Donkey.
That was such a fun little run he had, dude. That was so much fun. That was good. I did appreciate that. I guess actually I could have got another shout out. And it's a guy who also left us and gave us some good services towards the end of the year, kicking the field goal. Thank you, Matthew Wright, for your short time here. And thank you for not missing any kicks. Like, that was nice. And, I really...
Yeah, he's moving to a starting job, isn't he?
I hope so. The kid made kicks. Like, he doesn't have the biggest leg, but he for sure can get it done. Like, inside 40, that kid looked clutch.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's moving into a starting role.
Once again, anyone who wants to leave us a comment here, feel free. We'll love to talk anything you'd love to see. If you have any stats you'd love us to look into, we'd love to do that. Hit us up on the socials. I'll be fixing those at some point. I hope to really get into it this week. Been a little kind of crazy busy with stuff going on.
Let's go.
Hit Mutant Gingy up on Xbox Live like always. And Gingy, take us out.
You know what? Steelers Nation, wave them if you got them. Enjoy the championship round, because we've only got 3 games of football left in the 2020-2021 season.